Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
And I'm Taylor.
And we're talking football.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
The current state of the fantasy landscape is in shambles right now. Everybody is drafting way too early. They're taking guys like Jonathan Taylor, and then they're realizing Jonathan Taylor's going to sit out the first 4 weeks of the season. Dalvin Cook is changing teams to Ezekiel Elliott is basically kind of on the fringe of fantasy worthiness. We don't really know where a lot of people lie except the QBs right now. So we're going to start to get into a little bit of a discussion about some of the underdogs in the league and some of the guys that people are kind of overlooking right now. We're going to start with Jonathan Taylor. Rob, I think, I've made this clear on this podcast how I feel about Jonathan Taylor. So you and Taylor here, I want you guys to kind of give each other a little bit of a dual take. What do you think? Taylor, what do you think about Jonathan Taylor right now? Rob, you go first.
Yeah, this is a good shout out to Tommy. Haha, I told you so. Tommy took JT in the third round. I was like, you goofball. I don't know, that's value there. Wrong. I didn't like the situation here at hand at all. I think JT will eventually get traded because the team's going to come clamoring. And off the top of my head, as we were talking about earlier, Ryan, I said the Buffalo Bills because Miami couldn't cut it. And I think now there's a trade essentially in place in the Bills' mind that we're going to go back and go, oh shit, the Bills threw in an extra pick or whatever. But remember, we were talking about, look for James Cook to potentially be part of that trade.
Yeah, and if James Cook goes to the Colts, I'm not necessarily scared about James Cook's value. In fact, I think that actually might increase it a little bit. The Colts are a run-heavy team, and James Cook...
They're going to have to be.
With Anthony Richardson's athleticism, I think that it's, pretty clear that James Cook could be an asset on that offense this year, especially in the AFC South, being as weak as it is besides the Jaguars. Taylor, where do you see Jonathan Taylor landing this year in drafts? Are you scared to draft him after the fact? Where would you have taken him? Here's what I want to know. Where would you have taken him before the PUP designation? Where would you take him in a draft after the PUP designation?
I think either way he's risky, but it's tough. I think before the PUP designation, I think 4th or 5th round was fair due to you not knowing what was going to go on, due to not knowing what offense he'd be in. Mm-hmm. Is he going to stay with the Colts? Is he going to be hurt? You really don't know. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to take him off my board, but I can't seriously consider him till at least the 6th round because you got to look at it.
That's a good round to pick him, though.
Yeah, it is a good round to pick him.
Yeah.
But the issue is he's missing at least the first 4 weeks. I think that takes you till October 8th. The trade deadline isn't until October 31st. My belief is that he never suits up for the Colts again. I agree with Rob. He gets traded.
Yeah.
But if it waits till the deadline, we all know deadlines make deals. If we have to wait till October 31st, we're talking week 7, week 8. How much value is that worth?
And it begs the question now, is Najee Harris the easier pick this whole time than Jonathan Taylor, which I kind of talked about the last, and I busted on this last year, Roz. I really did think Najee Harris could be the number 1 pick, and you knew I did not want to take Jonathan Taylor number 1 overall. Something about that just did not feel right to me, so I kind of wanted to ship him off anyway.
Yeah.
Now, Najee Harris, he's looking like he's going to take a step up. Kenny Pickett looking like he's going to take a step up. George Pickens, I just traded for him in our ESPN Keeper League. I moved out Ezekiel Elliott and Michael Thomas for George Pickens. Where do you think he ends up in the pecking order of the Steelers by the end of the year? Is he the wide receiver 1? Is he the wide receiver 2? Is he getting over 1,000 yards? Is he getting 5 or more TDs?
Yeah, I think Pickens, the way the Steelers will go this year is through Kenny Pickett, for as cliche as that sounds, but he's looked good in preseason. Pickens was a monster at Georgia. Najee, I just think the best is yet to come from him, and I even said it. I felt like Najee was going too cheap this year as well. Pat Freiermuth, a guy I've been talking about for the last few years.
Yeah.
I think he eventually now is going to become that tight end I've been waiting
I actually want to hear your thoughts on that. What did you think when I shipped off Freiermuth and DJ Moore for Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I think it's okay. I mean, you traded some depth. That's ultimately what I noticed in the trade, where I like Freiermuth and I like DJ Moore. But you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 1 clearly. And
do you think Waller's the better play this year than Freiermuth? I want to hear that.
No, I like Pat. I like Pat Freiermuth better.
Yeah, okay. So this is where I came and I'm taking that risk, and I do agree with you, Rob. Here, that's like I kind of feel like Waller might have that season, and that you heard Taylor here now, and Taylor's also got a feeling about Alvin Kamara, so I want to hear that. Yeah. I want to hear feelings on that.
So with Kamara, I would take him way earlier than Jonathan Taylor, and here's why. I was having an argument with my friend about this the other day because, yes, one is guaranteed to miss 4 games, one's guaranteed to miss 3, but Kamara is guaranteed to stay in the same offense. He's guaranteed to stay on the same team he's been on, and it's only going to be 3 games. Again, like I said earlier, we don't know how long Taylor's going to be out. Just because his pup stay is over in 4 weeks doesn't mean he's going to suit up for the Colts in week 5. It does not mean that. So I think Kamara's a really safe pick. If you look at Kamara, he's never rushed for more than 1,000 yards, but his total yards are always, in the teens as far as over 1,000 yards with rushing, with catching. So in PPR leagues, I really like Kamara this year. I think the quarterback position has been upgraded, and I think it's a really good pick.
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And again, like you were saying, like you could probably get that a little later in the draft.
Oh, Kamara?
Right. Yeah. So
yeah, Kamara's going to be available. I'm snagging him anywhere in the 4th to 6th round. If you can catch him there, get him. I'm not saying he's a top 3 round guy because of the suspension. Without the suspension, I have him as a top 20 player on my board. But with the suspension, you got to factor that in. He's not going to be available the first 3 weeks. You got to plan around that. But if you can accurately do that, I think he's worth the pick.
Yeah. And here's another guy I want to talk about that I think people are severely undervaluing, and it's one that me and Rob have talked about at length, Javonte Williams. I'll say what I want to say about Javonte Williams real quick, Rob, and I'm going to make it brief. I want to hear your thoughts as a whole. Now that we see Melvin Gordon's been released, and he's probably never going to play in the NFL again, after being the leading rusher, basically, for the Chargers, then moving to the Broncos, they have moved on to Javonte Williams as their main guy, and I think at this point ESPN has him severely undervalued. They're projecting him for 177 attempts, 768 yards, 5 TDs. I think that's atrocious. Javonte Williams, if you see him in a draft, round 5, remember what I said last year about Josh Jacobs? I saw him everywhere in mock drafts fall into round 4. That's absolutely insane. Josh Jacobs is going to be a powerhouse last year. It's all over our podcast. This is Javonte Williams. You tell me what you're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to count off some numbers here. 2021, 203 attempts, 903 yards, average of 4.4 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. Last year, in 47 attempts, 204 yards, 4.3 average, so he was looking to continue that. And yeah, he gets injured. Okay, sure, we see it all the time. He's still young as hell. He has 0 competition. Denver's going to try every and any way to score any type of points after last year's disastrous outcome. So I'm all over Javonte Williams. I think probably not the leap that like Josh Jacobs took last year, but we might be talking Javonte being like a 2nd rounder next year, maybe even late 1st rounder. I think he's got that kind of talent.
I would like to play devil's advocate here for a second. I do like Javonte Williams a lot. I'm very high on the player. I took him actually last year. I think I took him like 24th overall or something in a 10-man PPR league. I mean, I really liked him. I still like him. I have concerns, though, coming off the knee injury. I believe in Sean Payton. He's one of the best offensive minds the NFL has ever seen. I think he can turn that offensive around. But what happens if it doesn't? If it's more the same from Russell Wilson, if he's slow coming off that knee injury, I like the player a lot, and if you can get him in the 4th, the 6th, 7th round, or 5th, 6th, 7th round, absolutely snag him, but he's not a guy I would grab too early.
Okay, to piggyback on somebody that just popped in my head, boring, but I say look out for him, Greg Dulcich from Denver. Same thing. They're gutting their back, all their backups in tight end. He's clearly going to be the guy. Again, Denver's going to try to score.
Yeah, I think a lot of tight ends have been overlooked. I don't think Dalton...
They always do every year. That's why you don't draft George Kittle.
It's like I don't think Dalton Schultz, George Kittle. I don't think these guys are going to be the man this year. Again, like they think. Now I did take Mark Andrews in some leagues, and I think obviously we've been talking about our Travis Kelce round one. He's the lock. Just like back in the day when you took Shannon Sharp
He's a top
as
five
a number one guy. But right now, I do think some guys are being undervalued. I think Sam Laporta is being undervalued. I think Dalton Kincaid is being undervalued. I don't think Dawson Knox is the answer. It's just one of those positions that's very hard to gauge. And remember, I told my brother, Freiermuth is probably top 3 on a dynasty tight end list. And I was getting Waller for this year. I want to win this year.
Right.
I've done enough building. I've been building this since 2017, right? Something's not working. I have to go all in. That's the difference this year. And I also traded Jonathan Taylor for Cooper Kupp, and now I've traded Cooper Kupp away in a massive trade that involved me getting T-Law. What is Cooper Kupp's value this year? Taylor.
So I picked 10th in my 10-team PPR league this year. Originally, Cooper Kupp was completely off my board. I was not going to draft Cooper Kupp. I was never going to touch him no matter what happened. Then I did some digging. I did about 100 mock drafts at that spot on ESPN. They let you do mock drafts. Highly recommend doing that to get prepared. But I did about 100. You know how many times Cooper Kupp fell to me at 10 and 11? About 3 times. So I realized here, value-wise, I had to take him. I had to take him. So once it played out in this league that, we obviously play for money, once I figured out that he was available for me, I had to take him. And the more digging I do, I'm very high on him. I know people that would take him number 1. I mean, have him as their number 1 receiver. There's some people, the really smart people on YouTube and some podcasts and stuff that like him as a number 1 guy, and I don't quite see that. But if you look at it last year, he was wide receiver number 1 before he went down. So he still obviously has the talent. Obviously, you got to question Matthew Stafford. His elbow is held together with tape and glue at this point. But Cooper Kupp's going to do his thing no matter who's throwing him the ball. I think he's a player, and he's obviously better, but you look at a guy like DJ Moore, he never had anyone throwing him the ball, always put up around 1,000 yards, always balled. I think Cooper Kupp is the same, but on steroids. It doesn't matter who's throwing Cooper Kupp the ball, he's that good, but health's the main concern.
But that's my devil's advocate to that is exactly what you ended that with. Health is my concern.
Yeah, now in keeper leagues, obviously we try to walk that fine line. We're gonna go seek out those old guys for one season or whatever, and we're gonna try and trade some of our depth to other people that may be looking for more value over the years instead of just an immediate, ejaculation because of the roster they have. You know what I mean? So it's like, earlier, I offered Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson for Derrick Henry. Now, I didn't expect that to be a yes, but the size of Brian Robinson Jr. and the promise of both those guys as a handcuff at their age in a dynasty league, I thought it would at least, generate a little interest. Where do you see Henry now going forward? Is this his last year to draft him in the top 5, the top 10, the top 15? What do we do here? Is this Adrian Peterson?
I said it before, it's just that if he does get injured again, it would concern me because I still believe he's not the same running back he was from that injury he sustained from 2 years ago. I kept saying, I was like, he runs upright. And for a big, lumbering man who's, what's his 6th year in the NFL? What do they say? Shelf life, 4 to 5 seasons, even though he did ride the bench for a long time. Alabama rode him to death. And, I don't know. Same thing like with the hedging the bet on Saquon Barkley with the Giants. The 2 running backs I probably would not draft would be Barkley and Henry. And if that makes me sound crazy, I guess so. And I might be wrong, but I might be right.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's like Henry's almost 30 years old, but I do think he's got some grit in him left. And I was, sad to move on from Saquon in our keeper league. But it begs the question, in this age of, having to hedge your bets on rookie players for the future, where do you see Jalen Hyatt and Jordan Addison here on the pecking order? Because everybody knows you're going to draft Bijan Robinson this year. Everybody knows, you're going to go after Jahmyr Gibbs. But past that, people are a little confused about what the actual value of these rookies are. So as someone here, you and Taylor, who are both very, very knowledgeable with college statistics and careers, who do you see being the better pick as a rookie dynasty, Jalen Hyatt or Jordan Addison?
I'm just gonna say Jalen Hyatt, reminds me exactly of Jahan Dotson, and how nobody was talking about Dotson, and people were like, really, first round? And I was like, dude, this kid can ball out, similar to like Micah Parsons. I'm gonna be a Penn State homer here, but same thing. And then with that, I think Hyatt's gonna be a surprise pickup. And again, so you guys are talking about Waller. Daniel Jones then I guess is going to have to make a leap, and Hyatt could be that guy. He balled out in Tennessee. It wouldn't surprise me if he does it in New York this year.
So I just want to let everybody know that Wander Franco has wandered into another investigation with another minor. So
Another one?
I think it's time to just drop him in those leagues.
Anyway, kids up.
Yeah. We got any last thoughts here?
Back to that Hyatt Addison conversation, though. Yeah, back to that Hyatt Addison conversation. I think if it is a keeper league, like a dynasty league, a keeper league, I think you take Hyatt. I think the upside's way higher. He has a chance to be the number one receiver in that offense. And there's more certainty around his quarterback. To me, Kirk Cousins is not going to be on the Vikings after this year. I could be well wrong, but I think they move on. I think they move on with a rookie next year, especially depending on performance. But Addison this year, I think he has the higher floor, and I honestly think he might have the higher ceiling. You got to understand, Justin Jefferson's going to be facing double teams, sometimes triple teams, and Addison's going to be wide open. He's got the talent. He balled at USC. Yeah. He's a really good wide receiver. He's got the size. He's got the speed. I think he can do big things this year. I think 1,000 yards, I wouldn't bank on it, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, I think, actually, Ted, I think that's an awesome comparison. Here's one thing I see. You remember how good Stephon Diggs was alongside Adam Thielen?
Yeah, I see him as the Adam Thielen to him.
Right, yeah, so it's going to be, Addison's going to be a solid pick. You know what I mean? So, other than that, I don't know. I might just have to cut this short. There's a really bad hurricane outside right now. Yeah. So, any last thoughts on the State of the Union here?
2 words. Let's go, Jags.
Well, to piggyback on that, I just wanted to say Doug Peterson had to do the toughest thing probably in sports. He had to cut his own son.
They signed him like an hour.
And they resigned him an hour later. He is on the practice squad now, so no tears need to be shed. Yeah. That has been resolved.
Oh, good. So he can still get health care through his family. All right, everybody. Once again, this is Fantasy R&R with Rob and Ryan and Taylor. And we will see you next time.